top, bitch, I know there's no going back. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies. Listen to C-O-N-A, that's the point of no return. Feel like lemonade and this baby says turn. All of this say I smoke too much, but I'm still finna let shit burn. I get to that shit by the top, bitch, I know that shit going back. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies. Listen to C-O-N-A, that's the point of no return. Feel like lemonade and this baby says turn. All of this say I smoke too much, but I'm still finna let shit burn. I get to that shit by the top, bitch, I know that shit going back. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies. Fucking me subliminally, suicidal tendencies.
Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to J is for Justice, where true crime and news collide. If you are new here, please consider leaving your DNA on the like button. And if you like what you see and you're thirsty for more, consider subscribing. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, our newest moderator is Jammers. Everybody, welcome Jammers to the J for J mod crew. Good morning, Robin and Jammers and Potato and Angie B. Good morning, Mandy. Good morning, Paper Chaser. Good morning, my beautiful Cheryl T. You guys are probably all wondering why I want to know if you eat raw oysters. You're like, what is this random poll? Get your votes in. And this isn't funny. It's not funny, but I'm just wondering, do you guys eat this shit? Do y'all eat this shit? Good morning, people. So I've got some Dingbat. Hello, Dingbat. I've got some announcements before we begin. First announcement. Our Patreon this week is not going to be on Wednesday. It is going to be on Thursday this week because I found out that I have a friend coming to town and I'm going to be seeing her. So we're going to be doing that Thursday instead of Wednesday. I will make a post in the Patreon letting you guys know. If you'd like to become a Patreon, the link will be in the chat during this live. And also, I wanted to let you guys know that I am working on getting this channel back into the partner program for YouTube. And how I'm doing that is I have someone auditing my channel. So I set up this person is going through them and I set it up and she's like, okay, you've got 700 videos, honey. It's going to cost you more than $100. So at first it was $100. Now we're up to $250 because I have 700 videos. So if you would like to help me contribute to this, I can reapply on the 2nd of July. So that's literally like 5-6 days away. If you want to help, you can use any of the links to donate towards it. I'm going to be paying that off this week so that I can reapply on the 2nd. And we will still keep our Patreon going. So don't worry, that's not going to go away. We do some special things there. We go deeper and we share documents and shiz like that. So with that being said, thank you in advance for anyone that helps me get through this audit and get back up to speed. And then we know where we stand. And then we have someone who can continually audit to make sure this shit doesn't happen again. Hello, Melissa B. Good morning. Frag, good morning. All right. So the reason that I asked you guys if you eat raw oysters, and I see some of you, Mandy says, I've only eaten raw oysters and oyster shooter shots. Ew. I have never even heard of that. Does that just kind of like you do the shot and it just kind of slides down your throat? That sounds really nasty. Daisy Dead says, LOL, do I eat raw oysters? Sorry, just got it. Just got here. It made me laugh. It's random. It's random. Hello, Punani Queen. Punani upped her membership on the Patreon. La, 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 la. Thank you. Can you guys hear the alert box? Oh, let me turn it up. Let's test that again. And Jenny W., thank you for your donation. Oh my gosh, Mandy, I would have. Oh, Daisy Dead. I know, man. I see some of the stuff that's out there and I'm just like, I can't believe that I have to fight for monetization. It's crazy, the kind of stuff that's out there, but it just depends. If people hate you and they want to turn you in, they will turn you in. And it's when, YouTube gets notice of you is what it is. And thank you, Daisy Dead, for recognizing that. It was in Vegas. Okay, I guess you have an excuse for trying it, but man, I would have thrown up, Mandy. Let's go over to our boob tube and let's see why I asked you guys this random question today. Hello, my lovelies. Ooh, let's get Urine Vandersloot off the screen. You guys are going to get a sneak peek this week in Patreon. I am all done with the Natalie Holloway video. We are up to speed from when Natalie went missing up until current day. Because Urine Vandersloot, yes, I said urine, he was in court last week. Northern Light, YouTube asked me a question below one of your videos. It was something about content. Multiple choice, so I entered informational and relevant information. Oh, wow. So they're doing that too, huh? Oh, Melissa B., thank you so much. We just got to get back to where we were, and then we will be good. Like, we're going to keep up on it. Thank you so much, Melissa. And then we will be able to keep up on it and make sure that we're ahead of the partner program, not left behind in the partner program. All right, so let's get into today's stream, shall we? We've got some news, breaking news, things happening overnight, things happening over the weekend. Let's discuss. So the reason that I asked you guys if you ate this raw oysters and seafood and whatnot. Let me get it up here. Okay, here we go, guys.
Breaking, just the sudden, traumatic death that we have experienced with all this.
Only on 4 tonight, a Valley Park man's family opens up about his sudden death, surprising death from oysters, which has now spurred a health alert. In fact, News 4 was the first to bring you this health alert last Friday, and we now have new information about this death and those oysters from a West County market.
This whole story is rare because only about 100 people each year
die
from
the bacteria,
so don't worry. Bacteria in raw oysters. New at 6 and only on News 4, Russell Kinsall is in Manchester with the story and the interview with the victim's daughter. Russell?
Yeah, right now I'm standing along busy Manchester Road, a little bit west of 141. That's the fruit stand and seafood market right back behind me. They tell me that Michael Rue was a very regular customer. He's being remembered as a husband, a father, a really outgoing guy who had a lot of friends.
Very sociable. He loved talking to people. He loved fishing, hunting. He used to hunt for those morel mushrooms every summer.
54-year-old Michael Rue also liked raw oysters. He bought a batch at the fruit stand and seafood market in Manchester, and within hours after eating them, started feeling bad.
He ate them, and then by Wednesday night, he was in a whole bunch of pain. He was complaining about a whole bunch of leg pain.
His family later learned Rue had been infected by a potentially dangerous strain of bacteria that can be found in raw oysters.
He was being eaten alive by this virus. He was literally being eaten from the inside out.
He was rushed to St. Clair Hospital in Fenton, but his condition deteriorated rapidly.
I got to the hospital around 10, and at 10 o'clock, he was just unresponsive.
Rue died Thursday, June 8th.
It is a rare event.
St. Louis County Health Department Director Dr. Kanika Cunningham says there's a higher chance of coming in contact with infected oysters in the summer months. She said a health department inspection of the business gave it a clean bill of health.
So we were able to determine pretty quickly that it wasn't, any fault at the store. It was likely shipped here already infected with this particular bacteria.
Ew.
Family members
Like shipped here from where? Like, I hope they're getting them out of the Gulf here. But yeah, gross. This was in St. Louis. This is KMOV St. Louis.
Rue also had a heart condition and other health issues.
Sometimes individuals who already have weakened immune systems can be at a higher risk of experiencing, really bad infection.
Obviously, we're very deeply saddened that this has happened.
The fruit stand and seafood market says Rue was a very loyal and well-known customer.
Since there's no way to detect by smell, taste, texture, nothing, it just makes it more devastating.
Rue's sudden death has turned his family's world upside down.
It has put my mother in a financial bind. It's put all of us in an emotional, just chaotic bind.
A GoFundMe account has been set up to help the family pay for funeral expenses. So the business no longer sells raw oysters, only frozen ones. Some of the raw ones that they had have been sent to a state lab for testing.
So they should ship them frozen all the time, I think. Screw this fresh oysters when you're shipping them across the country. Freeze that. Diana HB says, did I mention oysters are an aphrodisiac? You did, I think a couple times, Diana. Casey Marie, I'm 30 miles south of St. Louis. Well, don't eat any oysters. I just think that they should freeze them. Daisy Dead says warmer waters in some places sit on their inventory. That's so gross. So yeah, use caution. I mean, boil them little snots, right? Boil them, steamed, something. Cook that bacteria out of there because we have some nasty stuff in our waters. I know we all think the ocean is so clean and everything, but I'm here to tell you that every spring when the waters get warm, we get what's called red tide. And red tide is nothing but bacteria. That's all it is bacteria. All right, so on to our next story. This is actually really scary and really shocking. There was an elderly couple overnight last night that were found in an apparent homicide, stabbed to death. Stabbed. And this is in Newton, Massachusetts. And we're going to watch a video. There was 3 elderly people. I stand corrected. 3 elderly people. And the
Newton police.
The public is warned to be vigilant because they have no idea who this is. Truly. And they're admitting that. This isn't a Moscow, we don't know who it is. This is a true, I think we don't know who it is.
Newton police are warning residents to keep their doors and their windows locked.
Right now, officers are searching for the person who killed 3 elderly people inside of a local home. Our Nick Giovanni joins us live in Newton with the important alert. Nick?
Courtney, Kate, Newton Police Chief John Carmichael telling us extra patrols are out this morning. You can still, at this hour, see police cruisers parked out in front of the home and the road blocked off here this morning as they are still investigating in the early stages of that investigation into what happened.
We have no reason at this point to believe there is a connection. That's why we are concerned particularly about the safety issue.
See, she says straight up there is a safety issue. So what happened was just before 10:15 a.m. yesterday. So I guess this happened Saturday night. This happened Saturday night, and then at 10:15 a.m., Newton police were called to a home on Broadway where they found 3 elderly people dead from an apparent homicide. Authorities believe the 3 victims lived at the non-Intim neighborhood home in which their bodies were found. Later on Sunday, the DA's office clarified that the victims died from stab wounds and blunt force trauma. Authorities' preliminary investigation uncovered signs of forced entry into the home. So this is the house. I don't think it looks like a wealthy house. It looks like an average home to me. But it definitely sounds like a break-in. Let's keep going. Investigators have been actively investigating and following leads throughout the day, including investigating another attempted break-in at Brookside Avenue, about a half mile from the location of the death investigation that was reported to police this morning. And this is according to the DA's office last night. That attempted break-in happened around 5:45. So another house was broken, or they attempted to break in, but they're not sure which break-in happened first. No arrests have been made, as it doesn't appear to be a targeted attack. Authorities are concerned about the safety of people in the neighborhood. And we're going to watch some of the press conference of the DA and the police. But this is what is really, really sad. The couple, 2 of the victims, were celebrating their 50th anniversary this weekend. And let's watch this video that was put on Twitter. Oh, oops. Everybody does that. It's okay. Really not much to see, but they've got it all taped off, and it's horrific. We are asking the residents of the Nonantum and Newtonville areas to check any video from their home and notify police of anything unusual the cameras may have captured. They described the investigation as very active, and pictures from the scene show that police have set up canopies and blocked off a portion of Broadway Street. We really need the public's help with respect to this incident. The DA's office is also asking residents to immediately report any suspicious activity to Newton Police at 617-796-2123. And residents can expect to see an increased police presence in the area, and they say they won't rest until they found out who did this. But they're not saying what was, stolen or anything like that. So let's find the press conference and watch a little bit of that. It's really freaking sad and scary.
I am here for several reasons. The first is to give you a tiny recap of the information we have about the incident that took place today. I stress and will continue to stress this is a very active and ongoing investigation. We are in the very early stages, so details will not be particularly forthcoming with respect to the incident. And that is that this morning at about 10:14, a person known to the victims in this case called 911 that 3 people believed to be the elderly residents of a home on Broadway Street appeared to be deceased inside the house. We have since determined that those individuals obviously were deceased. That appears to be, at this point, from stab wounds and blunt force trauma. The preliminary investigation indicates that there were signs of forced entry to that home.
Horrific.
We have, as you have seen, been at the scene all day, actively following up leads. We do know that early this morning, there was an attempted break-in at Brookside Avenue, a home on Brookside Avenue, a home which is about a half mile from the house on Broadway. We do not know at this point whether those 2 incidents are connected, but we are certainly looking at what happened this morning. I'm primarily here for 2 reasons. The first is we are asking people to remain vigilant. This is the night to lock your doors and windows, even if you do not normally do that. It's a warm
Lock
night.
your
People may have
doors,
air
people.
conditioners going. Be vigilant. We are asking people if they hear or see something suspicious, please call the Newton Police immediately. Don't wait till the morning to report that to us. Call tonight. Additionally, we are asking residents of the Nonantum and Newtonville area to check any video they may have on their home, any Ring doorbell, Nest, any other kind of video. We really need the public's help with respect to this incident. So
Now, we learned just from the Moscow case how much video there could be out there. So I feel like they're going to catch this person. They're going to have a suspect, hopefully an image today, because I do believe that when they get the footage from the neighbors and stuff. I mean, this is, like someone said, it's an affluent neighborhood. It's not, probably a lot of people have these doorbells. But it's silly, guys, for us to have these doorbells and home security cameras and stuff when we're not locking our doors. And I know a lot of people don't lock their doors. And I was raised not locking my doors. My parents never locked the doors, at night my dad did. But during the day, I knew that anytime I stopped at my parents' house, I could just walk in. It was always unlocked. But people need to lock their doors because I know ours was a small town, and that's why. Live error code? What does that mean? When we're not locking our doors. It looks fine on my end. Oh, you mean for the website? Oh, shit. That's weird. I'll have to check into that. Weird. I'll check into that.
if they have, we have been out in the neighborhood, we have been going door to door. Obviously, it was a very warm Sunday. Lots of people may not have been at home. They may be just hearing about this incident. Please check your video. If you see something on there that appears unusual, please, again, call the Newton Police Department. The residents in that area can expect to see a continued increase in police presence. The chief will speak a little bit more to the additional patrols that we will have out there tonight and into tomorrow. The 3 victims have not yet been positively identified, and names are not yet being released. So I'm going to turn it over to the chief to speak a little bit about the response in the police department.
Sure. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, D.A. Ryan.
Suzanne, what?
As the chief of police of the Newton Police Department, we are obviously very concerned with such a violent crime taking place within our city. We do plan on having some extra patrols out there throughout the night. We're going to use a lot of our own resources, extra officers being called in, extra dispatchers brought into the dispatch center to take in, field any calls of other situations that may occur. We appreciate the state police and for the added resources that they're also providing us so that we can make sure that we keep our neighborhood safe. As I said, I am very concerned with such a violent crime taking place, and whereas this individuals are still at large, we do really emphasize again, be vigilant. You know, pay attention to what's happening in the neighborhoods, especially you know, in the Nonantum and Newtonville areas. And please, if you do see something suspicious, please call us here at the Newton Police Department and let us know about it. And you know, hopefully, as far as the Newton Police Department, we won't rest until we find out who did this and we find justice for the victims that were involved here. So, thank you.
Keeping in mind the preliminary nature of the investigation, I'll take a couple of questions.
Do you believe this was random?
Well, we have signs of forced entry. We have no reason at this point to believe there is a connection. That's why we are concerned particularly about the safety issue.
The signs of forced entry, is that the windows, the doors?
We are still processing that information. We have information about both of them.
Were the 3 victims related? And then we heard from several neighbors that 2 of them may have been married and celebrating some kind of anniversary.
2 of the individuals were celebrating a golden wedding anniversary this weekend. As you can imagine, this would be tragic on any day. To have family gathered for this kind of a celebration makes it particularly tragic, yes.
And was the 3rd victim
Yeah,
a
but
mother-in-law?
a family member, yeah.
Thank you.
So the earlier incident at Brookside, did that happen before the homicide?
We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't have a precise time as to the incident on Broadway.
And do you know what time the triple murder happened?
No, I don't have the precise time.
Of any of them?
Well, the incident on Brookside, we believe the incident happened around 5:45 this morning. The police received a call at 6:47. So the homeowners initially did not think there was any problem. They'd heard something that didn't seem to be a problem. Later on, they discovered there was an issue. That is why we are asking people, if you hear something, you see something, don't investigate yourself. Call the police department.
Was the person who discovered the victims, was he a member of the church?
Known to the family. I don't know whether they were a member of the church, but they were known to the family.
Were the victims found near the front door, the entryway, and then?
That's all part of the investigation.
So you don't know when the victims were last seen? Because they were found at 10:15 this
Yes.
morning. So this other incident happened at 7 o'clock in the morning, so.
No, it happened at 5:45. Yeah.
But it was reported at 6:47.
Right.
So
Yeah.
at what point do you believe that the homicide happened?
That's all, we're piecing that all
So
together.
they were on their way to church this morning?
They were due at church. We don't know
So they didn't go to
when
church.
this happened.
And should people, you said be vigilant, lock their doors, because right now, you don't know who did this.
No, we do not. That we want to be clear. We do not know, and we do not have any information at this point linking anybody to that family. So that is, we are asking for 2 things. In part for your help in getting the word out, people taking this very seriously in terms of their own safety, and also that they try to help us with the investigation in looking at videos or other surveillance they might have to see if it captured anything.
When's the last time there's been a murder here?
Last fall,
How about a triple murder?
none that we can,
Never.
First triple murder in Newton.
as far as we can recall, yeah. Obviously, we've been out there all day. We have had occasions, unfortunately, when there've been double homicides here, but we don't know of that. All right.
On the Brookside break-in,
Yeah.
what did the homeowners notice that indicated something?
They heard some sounds. They checked the sounds. They thought it was, as one would, maybe nothing. They later found some evidence that something had happened. So what we're saying is knowing what we now know, if you hear something, you see something,
Say
make
something.
a phone call and let the police come out and see if anything has happened.
And they did not, the person did not enter the home, that was an attempted break-in?
Attempted break-in, yeah.
Approximate ages of the victims?
They are all elderly. Thank you.
All right. So no details on ages or anything like that, but the 3rd person she said was a family member. And just so you guys know, I did update the link so you guys can use the support link. You should be able to. I want to thank you guys for your support. Zen, you know who you are, Zen. Thank you for your Cash App donation. Thank you so much. You guys are so kind. I just really want to get the channel back, where it was, and I appreciate y'all's support. For some reason, Streamlabs is very, very touchy. But that is, it's petrifying, you guys, that these people just thought they heard noises. There's 3 elderly people. And I just hope that there's elderly people that are actually watching the press conference and heeding these warnings because, I mean, even though they had their doors locked, they were still attacked. Oh, the link didn't change, guys. Hold up. So just so you guys know, I made a quick update in the beginning. I'm going to reapply for monetization on this channel on July 2nd. I have someone who is auditing the channel. Thank God. And we will get there. But it's not saving, so you guys are going to have to manually use that. I'm so sorry. Everything seems to always want to mess up. Let me see if I can add one. All right, I'm just going to make it help. Let's see if this works, if I can save it. Streamlabs, you suck. Yeah, you're just going to have to use it manually. I'll put it in the chat again. If you can help me out with this audit. There we go. Thank you so much in advance. All right. Our next story, which that one was bad enough, but now we have an 18-year-old. Okay, this 18-year-old was found in a dang bonfire pit. We're going to read about this. They're cutting my grass in case you hear any background noise. All right. So our next story takes us out to Bulldog Canyon, part of the Tonto National Forest. And the kid that went missing is Hunter League. Hunter was just 2 years older than his brother. And his brother spoke with ABC 15 last Thursday. And his brother said that he was his best friend and that Parker had just graduated high school in Nebraska and decided to take a trip to Tempe to visit friends. I knew he had a place to stay. I knew he got there. We texted, and that's about it, said Hunter. The family says Parker flew in on June 9th into Tempe and last messaged his brother on the 10th. He was supposed to fly home on the 12th, but that same day on the 12th, his body was found. Parker's family says that they were not made aware and filed a missing persons report with the Tempe Police Department on the 15th. They said MCSO says they're now stepping up patrols in the area as no one has been arrested. Sergeant Enriquez said, I hate to hone in on this specific issue, but I mean, we're dealing with homelessness. We're dealing with just a remote area, and we're dealing with areas that can only be accessed by 4x4 vehicles. Hi, Julie Labrador. Hello, Mary P. Campers say they've heard about recent crimes happening in Bulldog Canyon, including theft. ABC 15 brought that up to Hunter, and he believes Parker may have been targeted because of an expensive watch he took with him on the trip. The family says they also checked his bank account and found two unusual transactions. We basically found out that someone was using his debit card to get food and tried to pay their electric bill with it. MCSO responded that saying homicide detectives are tracking and looking into all leads. So he was just going for a trip for a few days, and he ends up here, and I'm about to show you. This is awful. This is where he ended up, in this bonfire pit in the middle of nowhere. And it kind of reminds me of the guy in Georgia, that Nate, what was his name? Can't remember his last name. Nate, the father that was found after doing drugs or whatever. Super sad. This kid was only 18 years old. And let's watch this video.
Since a grim discovery was made in a remote part of the desert near Apache Junction. A body found burned in a bonfire pit.
Heck.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Heidi Broussard. Tonight we're learning more about who that person was. A teenager reported missing by his father.
Team 12's Bianca Bono is live outside MCSO headquarters. And Bianca, what are they saying tonight about their investigation?
Guys, the sheriff's homicide unit is investigating this case, and they've identified the victim as an 18-year-old who was visiting Tempe from out of state. They describe his death as malicious. Now, earlier today, I did talk briefly over the phone with the victim's mother. She is heartbroken and says her family just wants police to catch whoever did this.
Look at this. It's crazy.
This remote desert area of the Tonto National Forest, the southeast corner of Bulldog Canyon, isn't easy to get to. But it isn't as quiet as it seems.
People come out, go four-wheeling, obviously burn furniture or pallets or whatever they can out here.
Eric Gall lives nearby.
Everybody kind of looks the other way, you know, so until something like this happens.
On the morning of June 12th, Gall was driving through the area after a recent cleanup of illegal encampments when he saw this.
That's where I took the picture from there.
Sheriff's officials surrounding this bonfire pit after a body was found inside. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office now identifying the victim as 18-year-old Parker League. This photo of him shared by his family. Tempe police tell 12 News on June 15th, 3 days after League's body was found, family reported the teen missing. He had been visiting Arizona from Nebraska, and his last known location was a home in Tempe where his belongings were left behind.
It's sad, it really is.
The Maricopa County Sheriff's Homicide Unit now investigating League's death, which they describe as malicious.
The crime has been steadily increasing in this area.
12 News spoke briefly to League's heartbroken mother over the phone, who through tears said they just want the suspect caught. Locals in the area want answers too.
It's not something we want to see happen out here, so it'd be nice to know who's responsible so it doesn't happen again.
And you can see that fire was still smoldering. When he found this, the guy was still burning. He was still burning in this pit when this guy found it. It's got to be robbery or something, or it's either robbery. It seems like with these cases, it does kind of remind me of Debbie Collier too. But it seems like in these cases, it's either robbery or an overdose. Like you hear about these people that overdose, and like the people that are with them are like, oh shit, we don't want to get in trouble. What do we do with them? And then they just dump them. Like that Nate, I can't remember his last name, but they literally rolled him up in a rug, wrapped it in plastic, and dumped his body. Like they just don't want to. They don't want to be responsible for what happens. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that happened to this kid, but it seems like there's robberies and overdoses happening left and right. I mean, when our elderly are being stabbed in the middle of the night, there's something wrong. There is something wrong, because I feel the same way about elderly as I feel about kids. Like, you just don't mess with kids, and you don't mess with the elderly. Well, I mean, and it also reminds me of, Tylee, how Chad Daybell and Alex Cox and Lori Daybell got rid of Tylee. It's sick. It's really sick. What's up, Slim Skittles? Just Joe, after the lockdown for that virus and now these wild crime cases, I feel like I still shouldn't leave the house. But then you're not even safe at home now either. You are, though. You just have to be smart. This is what we have to do. We have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to lock our doors. And that's what we have to do. We cannot just put our heads up in the clouds anymore. We really have to be aware of our surroundings because there's a lot of people out there that are addicted. They want money. They want your car. They want whatever it is they want, or they're just not in their right minds. People are doing like spontaneous, weird things. And I think we just have to be more conscious of our surroundings and pay attention. You know, pay attention when you're getting in your car. Pay attention when you're getting out of your car. Look around you. You know, don't be paranoid, but be aware. And I think that's how we have to proceed. We don't need to be scared because there's still so much life to live, guys. We can't just sit in our homes and be scared. We can't let the lockdown do that. Even though our lives are not the same as they were before the lockdown, I feel like we still need to just be vigilant and not ruin our entire view of life. Because I feel like all of our lives have changed, but it's all in how we, carry on with it and view it. Because we can stay in that same frame of mind that we were in before the lockdown. We just have to get there together. You know what I mean? Robin says, I was watching a podcast over the weekend and it was mentioned that Tylee and JJ may have been a sacrifice of sorts, Lori proving her love to Chad, who considered himself a deity. That is just so sick. But I mean, there's always been risks to leaving your house. There's always been a risk you might get in a car accident. You might get on a plane and you might crash. I mean, there's things that can happen always. But we can't live in fear, and we can't let that lockdown instill that fear and keep it there, because that's what's going to be the demise of society, is when we just succumb to fear. Mike Sanner. It used to be adults doing this sick stuff, and now it's so many teens. Somebody made comment about human race earlier. I totally agree. I feel like a lot of this has to do with drugs as well. And I don't know, man. You guys, we might see this get even worse because, and I'm not downing anyone for, medicating their children, but we have a whole generation of children that were raised on Adderall. Adderall is highly addictive. A whole generation coming up, medicated from elementary school on. I have no idea what that's going to look like. I have no idea what that will look like. It's a little scary, though, that the government has allowed us to start drugging our children at such a young age with such a powerful, addictive chemical. And I just don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on all those little brains that were still developing as they were put on this medication to calm them down, to help them focus. When really the solution is changing the curriculum of our schools would help kids focus. But that would make too much sense. That would make way too much sense to revamp the curriculum, right? Spend the lottery money and the medical or in the recreational marijuana money on education in the states that it's available. Use that money, revamp your school curriculum, make it more hands-on. That's what kids like. Nowadays, these kids are on these. You've got to make it hands-on. These old textbooks and all that shit, it's not cutting it anymore. So if we're going to have public schools, I think they need to be revamped versus, putting our kids on drugs so that they can conform to the curriculum. I think that our kids are more important, that the curriculum should be conformed to them at this point, not vice versa. Because now we've got all these kids being homeschooled. They're not getting the socialization. They're not getting the proms. They're not getting the, just all the shenanigans that goes with being in school. I have so many good memories from school. I hated school, but I went for the social aspect. I loved being social at school. Imagine that. I never shut up. Every report card, talkative, socializes too much. Potato, I had a battle with myself medicating her, but all the options were exhausted. And I know that there's certain circumstances where kids do need medication. I'm not saying there's never a circumstance, but it is handed out way too often is what I'm saying. There's kids like, for example, I raised 2 boys. Okay? I raised 2 boys. Boys are hyperactive. They are by nature. They're hyperactive. 40-year-old men are hyperactive. I mean, boys are boys. Boys are genetically different than girls. Girls can be more calm. Girls are more mature at a younger age. Boys are not. And I just think it's unfair to shove a pill in a boy's face. Like my son, my middle son, he needs Adderall. He can't focus at school. He's not liking school. Give him this and he'll be fine. That's the problem I'm talking about. I'm not talking about kids that can't function without it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how it's just been so willy-nilly. Oh, he can't sit still? Let's give him a pill. He'll sit still for you, teacher. I just don't think that should be what it's about. And I'm talking about in regular classrooms, because there's separate classrooms for, kids that have the learning disabilities and need the extra attention. I'm talking about regular classrooms. They're shoving 25, 30 kids in one classroom with one teacher. And then when the teacher can't handle all these kids, they're recommended to give them pills. There's something wrong with that. So I really think that the whole thing needs to be revamped. Yeah, they tried that with me too, Daisy. It was so easy. All I did was take him to the doctor and say that, he was having a hard time in school. I mean, he was actually feeling depressed. He was getting anxiety, and they gave him Adderall. And he took one. And he had the worst anxiety. The anxiety was worse than it was before we went to the doctor. And they were like, you've got to keep giving it to him. You've got to wait 2 weeks. He refused to take it. So it wasn't, and I would have never forced that on him. I mean, he was in tears. He was so anxious on that stuff. But you know what? When boys are hyperactive, that's when we need to get them out, right? Get them out, play games, play kickball, get on the monkey bars, play Red Rover. I mean, let's get back into the physical. Let's get them out there running around, these little kids. We don't need to give little kids pills to make them calm. They don't need to be calm. They're kids. And us as the adults should be conforming to what is best for them. What makes them learn the best? What form of learning helps our kids retain the information? But like I said, they handed it out like candy. I don't know if they still do, but they did hand it out like candy. And we have a whole generation of kids that were handed Adderall like it was no big deal. And they don't see the seriousness of the drug as well. That's a problem. Adderall is a serious drug, and it's treated like it's not. It's treated like it's not. And now what's happening is these kids want their Adderall, and they're taking probably more than they're even prescribed. So now they're going to the streets, and guess what? They're cutting it with fentanyl. And then your kid's going to try to take an Adderall that they've been taught is harmless because it was given to them by their pediatrician. And then they're going to buy a fentanyl pill because they need that Adderall and they're taking too much and they don't want to tell their parents, hey, I'm out of my prescription. It's a problem. Jessica says, I had bad anxiety and that too, that my doctor said, keep taking it. You'll get used to it. It's horrible. Johnny Cuddy says, right, my oldest son was very active, so we got him into sports very young, and he's a great athlete. And that's sometimes all it takes. And that's not the case all the time. But sometimes that's just all it takes. I have another good example. My niece-in-law, I know that sounds weird, but my niece-in-law, her daughter was hyperactive as a child in, preschool, kindergarten, couldn't sit still. You know what they did? They put her in gymnastics, and she's won I don't know how many championships. She's amazing. So I just think that there's a blurred line between hyperactive and an actual diagnosis. And Potato, they are so quick to hand out prescriptions to kids here. It's insane. Yeah, Daisy Dead said, yes, I have a friend who uses Adderall and says that very thing. The doc prescribed it for me 20 years ago. Like, it's okay. And that's what we've succumbed to. It's basically speed. And for people who truly are ADHD, it doesn't make them wired or like, you know, buzzing. It actually will work the way it's supposed to. So the people that use it for energy and to stay awake and all this other stuff, and to lose weight, people get it to lose weight. It's speed. It makes you not hungry. And I just think about little brains, little developing brains, like not having an appetite. You're okay, Daisy. Florida girl. I'm loving this conversation, by the way. Florida girl, my son is ASD and ADHD and ODD. Developmental delayed and has been on medication since he was 4. But when he's not in school, he doesn't get his ADHD meds. And I like that. I like that, you know, people like yourself do that you just give it to them when they need it, you know. But it's scary, and it's scary to know what they're doing, what it does to their little brains. We just don't know. And I just hate that they've become little guinea pigs. You know, these are our children, and we're going to be old. Shit, I am getting old. I'm going to be 50 this year, and I'm counting on these kids to, you know, have our backs when we're elderly and not leave us high and dry, you know? So we need them to be on the up and up. And if they're raised addicted to something, I mean, you can't deny that Adderall is highly addictive. And I'm not downing anyone who takes it. Some people need it. I'm talking about little kids. Mary P says it's scary that you guys are talking about this with info from 20 years ago. I know. It's hard to believe. It's like we're in a time warp. Everything's just like zooming by our eyes, is it not? Cricket says they diagnosed my daughter with ADD when she was fucking 2. I refused to medicate when she got in 4th grade. The school threatened to call CPS, got her meds, but never gave them to her, and they never knew. Cricket, that is horrible. Wow. You see that, Potato? Just Mike says, my kids in high school, they tell me they call each other NPCs, non-playable characters, but actually mean it. I think that's crazy, but makes sense. They see it, but don't do anything to help one another. I told her no because she takes pain meds. They were going to give it to your mom? Daisy, Dad, it messes him up for life. There's no hope for my friend on it. He's so dependent, it's useless. Take the phones away, says Mary P. Is that even an option now, though? See, Mary, we can't. We can't. Because look at where we're going. We're going with paying on our phones. We don't keep, like, kids don't keep cash anymore. Right? And they don't carry around debit cards. It's on their phone. Also, all their schooling is online. Right? So they have to be online to do schoolwork and shit. Secondly, parents aren't home a lot, right? Some parents work and stuff, and they need to have that phone to communicate because no one has landlines anymore. So when you take the phone away, you're also taking that safety. And that's the position that we as parents have been put into with the phone situation. It was so cool when the Blackberries came out, the Crackberries. We all loved it. Oh my God, we had a little keyboard, da-da-da. Using our thumbs. And now everything's on those. They were going to put your 71-year-old grandmother, your grandmother or your mother? 71 years old, and they were going to start her on Adderall at 71. My daughter has a debit card too, but a lot of it is on your phone, you know? TikTok is the worst. I agree. I think that they could keep See, this is what I don't understand. Why get rid of TikTok altogether? Why can't they just revamp it to have warnings for stuff like YouTube does? You know, you come across a YouTube video and if it's got something, you know, like about suicide or anything, you know, that could trigger you, there's a little warning and you have to say yes that you want to watch it. Why can't TikTok just simply do that? Like, how hard would that be? I'm not really sure if the phones are the problem. I think social media is the problem. So maybe there's a way that people can block social media apps from their kids' phones because social media is the problem. Like texting with your friends, that's second nature now. These kids don't even want to talk on the phone. But the social media apps, I would say no go. No go. And if you do, make sure their location's turned off. So hard to be old school, Jessica. We are outnumbered, but we're not. And we don't have to conform. We can put limits without being, you know, duds to our kids. But make sure, for God-ass sakes, that you turn off the location on your kids' apps. Mike Sanner, I think a lot of bad diagnosing is going on. Instead of realizing kids are so active, it doesn't always mean something's wrong. No, it doesn't. It doesn't always mean something's wrong. And I agree with that. I think that if we slow down and, you know, get our kids involved in something that they can focus on, that they enjoy. See, that's the problem. School's boring. That's why they don't want to sit there. I'm not ADHD, but maybe I am a little bit. But like, I didn't want to sit there either because it was boring. It didn't get my attention. If we curtail and make school interesting, like, why does school have to be boring? That's what I don't get. Jesus, Robin, really? The algorithms can be crazy depending on what you listen to and what you watch, and what you read. I did a TikTok video, says Karen Cole, of our government warning in England about this app. Very dangerous for everyone. Well, good for you for putting the word out. I just feel like they could definitely just change the settings and make it a little more secure, right? Maybe I am a little bit, because I do. I get into like 5 things at once, and then I don't finish one thing and I start another, and it drives people that know me crazy. Mary P says, when my son was in 4th grade, the school did that to me too. I gave it to him for 2 weeks, but every night he was having meltdowns from the come down. I stopped it. School refused to try non-drug issues. Schools are a pain in the ass, and you know, they're squelched by the government on what they can do, you know? If school was boring, I always felt it was because the kid is being taught what they already know and need more challenge. But that was always just what I thought, not facts, of course. And that could be part of it, but I just felt like, you know, history, I love history now. But like, if history would have been presented to me like I'm watching it now, I would have loved it. But literally, what was his name? Mr. Whitker. That was my history teacher. Mr. Whitker would put on one of these old videos that were like still cartoons and with like music in the background of like the Civil War and stuff like that. And you see like these cartoons that are still, and then this narrator. George Washington was on the front lines, something like that. And it's like, what? And they shut the lights off and I would be out. I would literally fall asleep. I'd be like, it's movie day. Sweet. I can take a nap. Boring. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a teacher, so I don't have those ideas floating around on how to get, these kids interested. But I really think that there could be a way to make it a little more interesting. Cricket says, one of my daughters always struggled in school. I begged them to give her an art class. They did, and she completely changed. A lot of kids that have trouble in school are creative, hands-on kids. So they either need a sport or maybe a musical instrument. And, we were raised in this generation where it was nerdy to be in the band. Fuck that. It ain't nerdy to be in the band. Remember we called it band nerds? Fuck that. The band people are where it's at. Because if you pick up an instrument as a young kid, you will be able to play pretty much any instrument that you want. If you learn how to read music and you pick up an instrument, you will grow up being able to pick up any instrument you want and learning how to play it. And there's nothing that you cannot take that away from someone. Suzanne says, all schools should be taught like Schoolhouse Rock. I loved Schoolhouse Rock. Jessica, I took civics and my teacher would just write on the board. Ugh. Yeah, and then you'd have to copy it down, and then you'd have to go home and you're expected to read it or make yourself flashcards. No, they can make it so fun nowadays. And I don't think I think be in the band. I love it. And I think that we're going to see more. I think it's going to be different. When we were in school, it was like, the band nerds, which I didn't think that way because I thought that I liked everybody. If you were cool, I liked you. But I think that we're going to see a lot more, like we were talking about the younger generation and them being more focused on mental health and being focused on emotions and not being so stuffy. Right? This next generation behind me. But I think they're also I think that things are going to be more artsy and more creative. And you see a lot of independent, musicians and things like that. So I think that that's going to be up and coming. And I think we're going to have a whole new generation that's bringing a whole new playing field to learning and what's cool and what's not. Because really, being in the band and being able to play 5 instruments is pretty fucking cool. Like, if anyone ever made that nerdy, they were idiots, right? Idiots. Why are people such idiots? But for real, I mean, I just think that if kids are discouraged from being in the band because they're not cool, they're missing so much.
Why are people such idiots?
Karen Cole, I'm a lawyer in England. We caught a guy grooming a 10-year-old girl on Snapchat. Oh man, that makes me mad. Mike Sanders says, my music experience started in high school. 2 years music theory and instruments. I still recall lots of the theory stuff, and it helps so much. Yep. I love Schoolhouse Rock. Should we watch a Schoolhouse Rock? I don't know if Potato and the other Brits know what it is. Let's watch a Schoolhouse Rock video. Which one should we play? Conjunction Junction, Interjections, or I'm Just a Bill? Which one you guys want? Electricity, Figure 8, The Constitution. Bye, Florida girl. I hope you have a great day. You guys tell me which one you want to hear. Conjunction Junction, what's your function? Dora Reed says she lives in Toledo and her doors are always locked. She also says do not open the door for anyone. If they're supposed to be here, they have a key to get in. That's a good take. All right, let's do conjunction junction first. And then we'll do a bill after that. All right, here we go. These are so cute. Let's do another one. Oh, the memories, right? I like the Bill one. That's the one I remember the most. Pay attention, Potato. Here's your American history lessons.
You sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
There's the Capitol building prior to January 4th, guys.
Woo, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
It's Hunter Biden.
I'm just a bill